For Thursday, the 4th of April. I'm Stephen Ridgway. And I say daily cyber briefing, at least that's the intention. What with technical issues, most likely identified in between the keyboard and the chair earlier this week. And yesterday's short notice cancellation, we haven't quite been as daily as we should have been, but we're back. We're back, and it will be picking up and running properly from now, at least until the next time. So, plenty to get on with today. Quick one around patch stuff. Google has addressed another Chrome 0-day that was identified at the Pwn to own, or whatever, I don't know, in March. The CVE, I'm looking for in this article, there we are, CVE 2024-3159, an out-of-bounds memory access in the V8 JavaScript engine. A couple of other issues that have been addressed as well in the latest patch, CVE 2024-3156, which is inappropriate implementation in V8, and 2024-3158, use after free in bookmarks. So if you are running Chrome or a Chromium-based browser, have a look to check that you are up to date. The stable channel has been updated to 123.0.2312.105.106 or .107 for Windows and Mac, and .105 for Linux. Those will be rolled out over the next few days. It is always worth, even if you've got your browser or apps or OS or whatever set to auto update, it's always worth having a little nudge every now and then, because it is not unheard of that things get stuck in the pipeline or need a nudge or whatever. So have a check, make sure you're up to date. Normally we talk about government overreach and other such things towards the end of the podcast, but there's some other more interesting things I want to talk about later, so I'm going to chuck this one in here. It's kind of in the arena of, well, we sort of knew they did this, and there are times when doing this is perfectly legitimate, at least at a high level, but I did think it was slightly worrying. So the federal US authorities have asked Google for the names, addresses, telephone numbers, and user activity of accounts that have watched certain YouTube videos. Okay. If the users weren't logged in, the authorities have asked for the IP addresses that were used to watch these videos. Now, at one level, you would think, well, okay, if they're trying to track down criminal activity, let's say, explosives making has sneaked into YouTube. Who's been watching it before it was deleted or pulled? I think the challenge I have with finding this acceptable is that the federal agents have been creating videos, making them public, and then demanding to know who's looked at them. Okay, now that's kind of okay, I guess, but the stuff that you get presented gets generated. So there's A, you could go and search for this stuff, or B, it just comes up in the stream, doesn't it? There are algorithms that go, oh, you happen to like kittens, let's show you more videos about kittens, or in my case, you like old bikes, let's show you more videos about old bikes. And so, yeah, okay, it kind of makes sense. But what if, in amongst all that, it churns up stuff that actually does get, is the things from the these sort of honeypot type videos. And I think it's that I don't know. I think personally, I think it's kind of like it's right on the edge. So if they're gathering information about people of which they have no suspicions, other than they've simply watched something. Yeah, so I suppose just be aware of that this stuff, you are potentially being tricked into watching things that the authorities are then using in order to create a database of potential suspects, which is probably a good place to avoid. Anyway, interesting article from Malwarebytes about that. So the other articles I found are building on the XZ vulnerability backdoor that has recently come to light. I think the first of those that I want to talk about is that there is a how widespread was the implementation of this backdoor. So the package that was impacted was XZUtils 5.6.0 and 5.6.1. Now that has been in the pipelines for various major Linux distributions, but mostly not in their kind of mainstream stable packages. Then it had made its way into some of the more development focused cutting edge streams. So definitely worth checking if you are running one of those streams. Debian unstables kind of thing. I don't know whether Debian was actually affected or not, but you know what I mean. So if you're using those sorts of versions of streams of Linux, it may have crept in. For the majority of people, it probably hadn't made it in there yet. One thing that does seem to be a widely used version flavor of Linux that did get caught by this was actually Kali, which is worth mentioning to a lot of people who might be listening to this, who, although to be completely honest, have probably already worked this out anyway. But if you haven't, check your version of Kali. The article from Cybersecurity News basically gives you the apt cache commands to check which versions of it's lib LZMA5 is the actual package that you need to check the version for. And it also then gives you the command to do an apt update to roll it onto a version which is not vulnerable to this. Then there's there's a good article in Politico that Eliza May came across and sent in my direction. So thanks, Eliza, for that. Suggestions for things to talk about, by the way, are always welcome. If anybody wants to, stumbles across anything interesting, ping it over and I'll take a look. However, if you want to see a decent write-up that's not too technical about how we've ended up in the situation that we've ended up in. That's a good article to have a read of. It is, at one level, understanding the technical issues associated with this is very important. But as always, at the end of any incident, you need that bit where you go, well, how did we end up in this mess, and how are we going to avoid ending up in this mess again? And there's some interesting stuff to think about here. The user account, the GitHub user account, that was associated with injecting the backdoor code, had spent 2 years building trust within the community as to and had become actually part of the part of the team responsible for looking after that package. Now that, and the fact that it's reasonably sophisticated and reasonably well hidden backdoor, does kind of indicate it probably isn't just somebody mucking about. If they spent 2 years of their life getting to the position where they could infect this stuff, then we're kind of guessing it's probably nation state or seriously properly criminal activity, that sort of thing. One of the things I do rather like, though, is that because this is open source, once it became known, there was very little opportunity to hide it. So, there's an argument, and I've had this discussion many times in my career around, well, open source stuff must be more insecure because anybody can inject stuff into the code. Well, they can't, because the code's all checked by any pull requests, and anything that's changed in there goes through at least some form of checking, and certainly for packages like this. And this particular person had gone to a lot of trouble to present themselves as being a diligent, hardworking, trustworthy member of the community. If you think that commercial organizations are not employing people like that, then I think you're misguided. But in a commercial organization, there is always a very strong pressure not to admit to any of this stuff if they can get away with it. No matter how much we all like to think that commercial software organizations are, absolutely, straight up about all the issues they've got in their code, and that they really, really want. No, they really, really want to look after their bottom line. So. Yeah, this has come to light quite publicly in open source tooling, but it came to light very quickly in open source tooling. You could argue, oh well, it was just fortuitous that somebody stumbled across something that piqued their interest and they went to have a look at it. Well, they went to have a look at it because they could have a look at it, not because it's a black box sealed bit of code that you would have to reverse engineer in order to understand. No, you just go and look at the code, and that's how we've ended up understanding about this quite quickly. So that's a particularly interesting article. Definitely worth a read. Only take a couple of minutes to read it, but it'll give you it kind of sets the scene around how we've ended up where we are. And then finally from me today, Bleeping Computer has published an article saying that there is a XZ backdoor scanner that will detect the backdoor in any Linux binary. So apparently a security firm called Binary, BINARLY, has released a free online scanner to detect Linux executables that have been impacted by the XZ-Utils supply chain. Sounds particularly good. That some of the things out there. Again, I think kudos to the open source community and people supporting the open source community for spotting things and doing stuff about it in what I think is actually a pretty quick turnaround. So yeah, if you're concerned, have a read of the Beeping Computer article and check out your systems, downgrade or upgrade depending on which direction you want to go to deal with this. And I'm sure that there will be more that comes out on this later. That's all from me for today. Hope you have a good Thursday, and I shall speak